Is the state of New York falling short on its promises for public school funding? More and more parents and advocacy groups, they're saying that it is. And at the poorest school districts with the heaviest minority populations, they're suffering the most. The complaints, they're gaining steam as the state's budget season is heating up. So are the calls for Governor Cuomo to do something about it a pledge his critics on the issue claim he made in his campaigns? Among them, actress and advocate Cynthia Nixon. She spoke out on the subject to Politico New York. That's also what one member of our panel tonight is saying. Billy Easton, he is executive director for the Alliance for Quality Education. It's a group whose aim is to ensure a high-quality public school education to all students regardless of their zip code. Joining Billy on the panel, Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. Also with us tonight, Shelley Mayer, Democratic Assemblywoman representing Yonkers. And next to Shelley, Dominic Carter, political journalist, author, and troublemaker. All right. So Billy, in Assemblywoman, your district this isn't a theoretical debate. This is a real conversation.
Prime
right?
story. Story.
First off, without getting into the whole tangled legal history as best you can, Billy, did the governor break his word? Because you read his supporters, including people from his administration, Mr. Mujica says, hey, take a look at the budget. This is going up 6% every year here. We're paying more per pupil funding than anywhere else you go. I don't know what they're talking about, how much more, given the share of the budget that education represents, they want from us.
You know, they like to say we spend more than we ever have on education, but I bought a gallon of milk the other day. It cost me $4. My mom used to pay $1. I pay more than I ever did for milk. That doesn't mean I'm getting more milk. And the same is true in education. Costs have gone up. So we need to actually spend more money in poor districts than we currently are. The governor said it was the civil rights issue of our time when he was running, and he has not delivered. He's failed to deliver. And this budget here is a big chance to get the job done. It all depends. The State Assembly, Assemblywoman Mayer and her colleagues have put forward a good plan that would fund about $2.1 billion for schools this year, but also would have a 4-year plan to meet the commitments that the court ordered in what was called the Campaign for Fiscal Equity for schools all over the state. The governor's against it.
Now, I remember the CFE lawsuit. What I've never understood is I thought that it was a game changer, kind of like Abbott was in Jersey, that this changes it, but that it seems like it's been taken more as a suggestion than a mandate. Why is that?
Well, I think several things happened. One, it started with the mandate, and that was the mentality, and we changed the formula to reflect that there had to be higher recognition of the needs of high-need districts like Yonkers and Portchester, Mount Vernon, Ossining for Westchester people. But one, we hit the recession, so that all the money promised was not given. But then as the recession started to end, the commitment started to diminish. And I think that's where Billy and I agree. And the Assembly Democratic Conference has been very insistent that we put as much money as we can into high-need districts. I happen to also favor fixing the things that we took back during the times of the recession. But I told the story today to Billy. I met 2 children today in the Yonkers Public Schools who cannot take a book out of their school library because the school librarian is not there enough periods for 7th and 8th graders to visit and take a book out. I mean, this is in Westchester. This is in one of the highest wealth counties in the country.
And put a face on it, Billy, what we're talking about, and this is no shot to Scarsdale by any means, but Scarsdale and Yonkers, close by geography, or as you say, by zip code here, but in reality, worlds apart. What are you looking to do that would make a tangible difference for that Yonkers kid, for example? And obviously, it's not just Westchester. This goes to the 5 boroughs and all the way to big cities across the state.
Well, we'd like to see the Yonkers have their libraries open all the time when the students are there, that students can check books out. We'd like to see smaller class sizes. Guidance counselors. One of the issues that Yonkers has is that they need more guidance counselors and social workers. If a student is in crisis in Yonkers, a couple years ago they told us that they had what they call drive-by counseling. Whoever was the closest person to it went there because there wasn't always a guidance counselor or social worker in every building. So these are some of the things that you need. Higher quality curriculum. All of these things have one thing in common. Every one of them costs money. You can't do it without money.
So is $4 billion the total, or is $4 billion spread out over whatever X number of years?
Yeah, $4.4 billion is the increase in annual funding that's needed to fulfill it. That we're looking for a 3 to 4 year phase-in to get there. So the Assembly proposed $1.1 billion this year, an additional $1.1 the next for 4 straight years to get there. And that's what we need for classroom funding. For Yonkers, it's like $40 million. So it's a lot of money that could make a big difference in the Yonkers schools.
Somebody says, hey, Shelley, I don't got kids in the school. Why do I care? What's the answer?
Well, the answer is that for middle-class communities throughout the suburbs and the city of New York, you need to have high-quality public schools. And you also have a constitutional obligation, I mean, that's the lawsuit, to have a sound basic education for every child. That's part of the American dream. You can be poor and you're going to go to school and you're going to get the same as the rich kid sitting in the seat next to you, and that is your opportunity, your pathway. And that's really what the case said.
And also property taxes, right? If it's not coming from Albany, people in that community got to dig deeper, right?
Well, we already have a mix of property tax and Albany, and in fact, it doesn't work perfectly. But in places where there's not the property tax revenue and we have a property tax cap and we have understandable frustration with property tax, we need more money from Albany in order to provide the service.
Is the governor crying poverty on this? I mean, because he's spending money left and right on so many other things. Is that the blowback that you're getting?
He has stopped using that excuse. In fact, that was one of the things that Cynthia Nixon addressed in her issues. It's like, you can't cry poverty anymore. Now the governor says, even when he was running, he said, we have not fulfilled this obligation and it's necessary to create equity. Now he says, we never were obliged to do it and we're not going to do it. It's really a matter of, the governor essentially does not want to invest in our schools. That's really the bottom line. He wants to say he's investing, but doesn't really want to get the job done.
Sometimes it is, a lot of governors before him in different places have invested and they haven't seen the return where the scores have gone up on the testing, and a lot of times they'll build the buildings and they don't show it. Politically, does he have to cave on this? Do you think he will?
Well, whenever a governor is not up for re-election, don't expect for them to cave on much. Governor Cuomo, to be honest about this, he's very good at talking a good game. I think alluding to what Mr. Easton is just talking about, he's very good at that. But I'm as a graduate of the New York City public school system that received one of those inferior educations, I'm a bit depressed here tonight because I started in journalism, Richard, in 1985. And in the year 2016, under different governors, I'm listening to the same old tired argument. First it was lotto money's going to be the rescue. Let's pour the money from lotto. That's going to get the money to the kids in these poor cities. It's the same story in 2016 to when I graduated from high school in 1978. It's despicable. It happens because public school kids that look like me, they don't have a lobby. They have people fighting for them, but they can only do but so much fighting. And you have a governor that, frankly, any governor in this day and age, it's more important to the constituency to provide a property tax cut than it look good funding education.
Before we let you go, I just want to know, Billy, what does the public look forward to this? Obviously, the budget's the trigger for this, so what can we expect to see in here?
Well, I mean, I think that's what's going to be decided in the next week in Albany. So what the public needs to do is to contact their legislators and let them know that they cannot come home without the full commitment, without what the Assembly put in their budget bill. That's what we need to have happen. The state Senate is not there yet, the state Senate majority, so those state senators from Long Island, Senator Murphy here in Westchester, need to hear from their constituents, I want you to deliver what the Assembly is going to give me in education.
I'm already over my time here, but you believe the votes are there for the Assembly? You think it'll get through?
The Assembly will push as hard as it can. We need the Senate Republicans to realize this is a statewide issue.
Billy, great seeing you. Best of
Thank
luck
you.
to you.
Thank you very much.
All right, coming up next, the latest standoff over a government shutdown, but this one's not in D.C., it's in Atlantic City. That way the mayor and the governor are in a stare down over needed cash. We're going to talk to the beleaguered mayor of that city straight ahead.